Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Horror Analysis with me, Drew. Alright, well, we are still talking about the horror tale, and we are still in Philosophy of Horror by Noel Carroll. We're still talking about the complex discovery plot. This is the first of the types of plots, and probably the most populous, and probably the most it needs 2 days of explanation. Once again, the points that are the parts of the complex discovery plot are the onset, where the monster's presence is established for the audience; the discovery, when the characters become aware of the monster; the confirmation, when the characters seek to confirm the monster or to get backup, to convince others, etc. And the confrontation, where the characters meet the monster. We went over those 4 parts. The examples I had were It, The Exorcist, and Monster House. Last time, Carol actually doesn't like It in that section. He calls it. He talks about it in the appendix, and he calls it. Well, we're going to talk about it because he calls it something else. Here, there's lots of variations, as I've mentioned before. You can take any element out from the onset, discovery, confirmation, confrontation. When you have all 4, it's called the complex discovery plot. The next step down would be onset, discovery, confrontation. That's what Carroll calls the discovery plot. The confirmation part of it, if you add confirmation to a discovery plot, you get a complex discovery plot. Confirmation, of course, as we discussed, is used to build tension, make the monster seem more invincible, to give the monster time to collect and become more powerful, etc., etc. It's to increase tension. But you don't need, if you don't want, if it's especially if it's a short story, if you don't want to increase that tension, you can just take confirmation out, and there's going to be quite a few stories where onset discovery confrontation is the main one. Of course, I have the next one across the list is the one with 2 stars next to it. I'm going to go over that. That's the one that doesn't end up on Carroll's list on page 116, but he talks about it on page 110. So, and he says there's, how many? 4, 6, 10, 14, 15. He says there's 14 versions when there's 15. 4 of the 3-part ones, 6 of the 2-part ones, and 4 of the 1-part one, and then you get the one with all 4 parts. So that's 15. 1 plus 4 plus 6 is 11, plus 4 is 15. Yeah. I've checked my math about 40 times on this, but nonetheless. I don't know. Page 116 in there, he has his list. He doesn't mention onset, discovery, confirmation. It's got to be a typo. I got nothing. I got my hot water. Again, it's too hot to drink. Holy goodness. Oh, ow. I actually burned my lip. Alright, so, enough of that nonsense. Onset, discovery, confirmation. Sorry, confrontation. Alright, I'll go through the list. Let me go through the list and see if I can not get tongue-tied, because the last time I did this I got really tongue-tied. I don't think I have much faith in how I'm going to do it today, but we'll do it. There is the complex discovery plot. Onset, discovery, confirmation, confrontation. Then there's the variations. Onset, discovery, confrontation. Onset, discovery, confirmation. Onset, confirmation, confrontation. Discovery, confirmation, confrontation. Then you have the two tiers: onset discovery, onset confirmation, onset confrontation, discovery confirmation, discovery confrontation, and confirmation confrontation. I knew I'm going to screw it up. And then you have the pure onset, pure discovery, pure confirmation, and pure confrontation. Yeah, that's tongue twistery. Confirmation and confrontation sound a lot alike. And if you're saying them, especially over and over again, you're going to trip up. So, the first one I'm going to talk about is onset, discovery, confrontation. The one that, there's a few that Noel Carroll mentions. M.R. James is the one I'm familiar with. He also mentions it. Since I talked about it last time, I'll talk about it again really quick. Carroll doesn't consider it to have a confirmation stage, but it sort of does. What I consider, I put it in as one of my choices in my examples when I was talking about the complex. I think that, the onset where a writer guy's brother is killed. There's the discovery where the kids all meet up with Pennywise or meet up with whatever it is that frightens them, like the pterodactyl thing for the one kid and the werewolf for the other kid, etc., etc. They all meet up with a Pennywise or a version of something that frightens them, that lets them know that there's a monster. And then they prepare. They don't get back up, and they don't try to convince others. They can't get back up. The whole town is enchanted by Pennywise, or it, rather. They don't need to confirm the monster. They all know that the monster is there. And they don't try to convince others, A, because no one believes them, and B, because the whole town is enchanted. All the adults and everybody else is enchanted by the town, by the monsters, except for these 7 kids. But they do, the purpose of confirmation being to build tension, they do prepare for battle. And they do prepare for battle quite a lot. And then they meet up with him briefly and sort of win, sort of lose, and they, more people get killed and whatnot. But it's building tension because they're preparing, and then they confront. Carroll's going to say that that's not this confirmation, but he also says that having Van Helsing talk in Dracula was a big part of confirmation. Van Helsing was a big part of confirmation because he said all these powers of the vampire, and then made Bela Lugosi scary. Movie more than the book. There was some bit of confirmation period in the book because they had to confirm that the Blue Fur Lady was Lucy, etc. But in the movie, to make Bela Lugosi frightening, they used the method of confirmation. They used the method of having Van Helsing talk about vampires, the powers of the vampire. So I'm leaving it to the side. The first one that M.R. James talks about in the actual book part is M.R. James casting the runes. This is one I'm quasi-familiar with. This is one where the plot is, and there's a spoiler on here, I've listened to this on a radio show. It wasn't the Andrew Sachs version that's on here, but there was an old radio show that I picked up a CD. Hey, old scary radio shows. It was pretty good. Casting the Runes was one of them. A guy angers a writer. A critic angers a writer who's writing about witchcraft. And the writer is actually a wizard or a witch or whatever. And he's learned in the dark arts. So he casts runes on him. He puts a piece of paper with the runes on it in him on his person, and since he took it, he's got the runes cast on him, and he's going to die in X number of days. That's the onset, and then discover, when he discovers that, there's runes cast on him, and he's going to die in X number of days. There's no confirmation. He doesn't try to get back up or convince others. I think he does get a buddy to help him in the radio program anyway, and then he goes out to meet the monster and casts the runes back on him. He puts it in his pocket or something, or puts them in his boarding pass or something along those lines. And then the wizard, walks off not knowing he has the runes cast on him, and he gets hit by a brick and dies. Right. The other one that Carol also mentions is The Hour of the Oxrun Dead by Grant. Not one I'm as familiar with. Let's see what Carol has to say about it real quick. Oh, did I have that one on there? Yeah, Actually, I don't think he must have said it at some point, but he doesn't say it on here. Oh, here we go. Towal is the monster. Murders Ben. Natalie and Mark discover. There is no confirmation, and then they confront, and Tola is defeated by means of the missing ring, whatever that means. I'm not really familiar with it. Actually, another one that he mentions right down at the bottom here. I thought it was actually further down, so I'm going to talk about it later. But he talks about Cycle of the Werewolf being a regular discovery plot. I actually thought it was more. Where was I? Where did I put it? Where are my notes? I've got to Control F, for goodness sakes. Cycle. Oh, I had an on-set confrontation. No, I disagree. I'm going to disagree with myself and agree with Carol now. Which happens. Yeah, Carol also calls Cycle the Werewolf in between complex discovery plot and discovery plot. Meaning sometimes it straddles the line between having confirmation. That's Stephen King's Cycle the Werewolf. This is chewed up. I don't know why. I did buy it used, and I think it was like that when I got it. Onset, a couple of months. It's month by month, being full moons. This is a werewolf book. First month, onset, a hobo gets eaten. Second month is Valentine's Day. Somebody gets eaten on Valentine's Day. Third month, something else happens, etc., etc. People keep getting killed on full moon nights. Whatever month it is, 4th of July, I think it is, was one of the other full moons. The main character, Marty, the wheelchair-bound hero. Why am I looking in this book? Has has his fireworks out. He's tossing. Okay, give me a second here. Oh, God. Alright. Alright. Okay. Cycle. Yeah. Marty is the main character, the wheelchair bound boy. He's playing with fireworks on 4th of July, and he's, one of the fireworks you see where he sees the werewolf creeping up on him. So he throws another firecracker at him, blows his eye out. Stuff. And then since he beat the werewolf once, he's going to become the main character. That's when he discovers the werewolf. He doesn't really try to confirm anything. He does convince his uncle to get him some silver bullets, which ends it in the end. So he convinces his uncle somewhat. That's why the straddling the line, and then he confronts the werewolf afterwards. He doesn't try to convince his uncle that there's werewolves, or that the preacher is a werewolf. He just sort of talks him into getting him silver bullets. For a gun, I think the uncle got him anyway. Maybe? I'm not really sure. Anyway. Yeah? Alright, I'm okay. I'm sort of okay. Alright, the next one I was going to go over... Oh, the 2-star, the weird one. Onset, discovery, confirmation. That laughing fit gave me a headache. Onset, discovery, confirmation is... I have an example that Noel Carroll gives. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1950s version. Onset, the first people are taken over by the pod people. Discovery, the doctor realizes that the town is being taken over. And confirmation, he finally convinces whoever that, hey, we're under attack by people from the space. And then the movie pretty much cuts out. In the 70s version and in the book version, there is a confrontation scene. But there isn't in this one so much. I actually came up with my own version. It's another invasion's good. Especially when you have the backing up between onset, discovery, more discovery, more confirmation. Confirmation is so tough to do. Say you had a 2-parter movie. This is the example I'm coming up with. And it's called Invasion. Big block letters coming at you on the screen. Invasion. Aliens come down, roast a townsperson. This is your onset. And they start, eating people in the woods, where they won't be bothered for a while. And there's enough people out there, hunters and rednecks and whatnot, so they're eating people and roasting people or shooting people, whatever. Doesn't have to be eating. And then the main characters come by, I think I had something like this last time. Bobby Joe and um, the nurse or whatever. Bobby Joe the redneck and the nurse come by, and they both see the aliens, and they both run to the sheriff. And the sheriff doesn't believe them. They think, "Oh, you're drunk. Whatever. Lock them up for a day so they can sober up." But they're not drunk. They really saw aliens. So Bobby Joe and Sue, the nurse, go to call up the feds. The feds don't believe him. He said, quit calling us, whatever. More aliens keep attacking, whatever. More aliens come down and start taking over. Eventually the feds contact the sheriff, but by this time the sheriff is taken over by an alien. So he says, "Oh no, there's no aliens. These guys are just crazy." But really, he's an alien at that point. More and more goes on. The Bobby Joe and the nurse go to the army, and they say, "Army, there's aliens. They're attacking. Come on." Army's like, "You're crazy." Blah blah blah. And the climactic scene of the movie is, Bobby Joe jumps in front of the president, knocks him down while the aliens try to assassinate him. And the president turns to Bobby Joe, "I believe you now. Let's get him. I'm going to get the army out." And then cuts to credits, and as the credits are rolling, you see the army guys locking and loading. You see the jet planes getting ready for takeoff. You see the battleships doing whatever battleships would do against an alien threat. Whatnot. And then you see the title comes up. Stay tuned for Invasion Part 2, The War. Or, Invasion 2, The War. So it could be a two-parter, and that second part would be pure confrontation. That's the war between the aliens and the people. But the first movie was just the first three parts. The onset, discovery, and confirmation. That's sort of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'm ripping it off, but I'm ripping it off to make it use the illustration a little more clearly. Next one. Onset, confirmation, confrontation. This one is sequels. Sequels. Onset is monster kills victim or victims. Heroes, usually heroes from the first movie, or even children of the heroes from the first movie, or something along those lines, have to make sure that Monster X is back. Whatever monster you want to put in there. Your slashers coming back from the dead. Your sequel to Demon being raised. The guys who banished him last time have to come back and banish him again, which is kind of It-like also. Would the second part of It be the confirmation that It is back? They get it pretty quick anyway, but whatever. I'm letting It lie. Stephen King's It, obviously. And then they have to confront it, or re-confront it if it's a sequel. If there's a murder in the town, and the heroes have to make sure that it's really the reincarnated Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger, etc. And then once they realize it's not just some copycat killer, it's really the guy coming back from the dead, then they have to re-confront it. But they have to confirm first. Discovery, confirmation, confrontation. This is the last of the three-part variations. So, discovery, confirmation, confrontation. The example that Noel Carroll gives is Blood Heritage. Where essentially there's no onset. The onset is when the audience knows. Onset is when the audience has the monster's presence established. When the characters know, then the audience knows. There is no point where the audience knows that the characters don't. So therefore no onset. Onset and discovery are wrapped into one. This one, Blood Heritage. Oh, the demon's name is so great. I gotta get this demon's name. Matuku Pago Pago. So, the demon escapes from whatever he escapes from, and it's witnessed by the two main characters. There's no onset where the demon escapes and kills somebody and then is witnessed by the two main characters. When the demon escapes, the two main characters witness it. So they don't have to, there's no onset, it's just discovered. They discover it. Then they have to confirm, they have to convince the third guy in Blood Heritage that there's really a demon, and his name is really Matuku Pago Pago. I don't think they have to convince him of that part. That there's a demon running around, and then they have to confront. They have to confirm, they have to convince the other guy. The two characters who saw the demon have to convince the third one, and then all three have to confront the monster. So that is the three-parters. There are 6 two-parters, and these should be getting quite a bit quicker as they go along, of course, because there's less to go over. I guess somewhat the stories get shorter as well. It could be said that these are going into short story territory, or movie territory, because movies are usually less involved. Otherwise they get busy. Stephen King's It was a 2-part. It was a huge book, but it was a 2-disc movie. Cycle of the Werewolf, and there's a lot of illustrations in here. Was a normal-sized movie. Maybe some of the shorter ones could be part of a movie. We'll get to that when we get to Pure Onset. And the Creep Show. Creep Show 2. So these are going to get shorter and shorter. So, onset discovery plot. That would be the first one on here. The example that Carroll gives is... Oh, these are weird. It's out of order. Okay, yeah. Example that Carroll gives is Feast in the Abbey. Robert Bloch. So, the premise of Feast in the Abbey is a guy goes to the Abbey looking for a brother who disappeared. Abbey with a bunch of monks. He gets a bad feeling about all these monks. He keeps getting a bad feeling about all these monks throughout his visit to the Abbey. And then they're starting a feast at the Abbey, and he finds his brother because his brother is the main course. The main character gets creeped out. Onset is the brother dies. The brother goes to investigate. The brother, the priest, dies. The brother who's not the priest goes to investigate the Abbey. And then at the end he discovers that my brother's the meat on this table. That's not cool. Essentially, it's implied that... I haven't read this one, so I can't tell if it's implied or not. It's implied that the brother that's still alive becomes the next meal for the monks. But of course you could just have it, Feast in the Abbey 2, Feast Harder, was where the brother escapes and then he comes back with after confirming and getting back up. And he goes after the monks. Feast Harder. I don't know. It's bad. Sorry. Bad jokes all the time. Onset confirmation plot. Oh, this is a weird one. Afterward by Edith Wharton. I'm sure you can see at the bottom there. There's a link to this at bookshouldbefree.com. You can also get this. This is a public domain, and you can get this on LibriVox.org as well. The plot of this one is a couple moves into a haunted house. And the trick in this haunted house is you don't know it's haunted until after the ghost has been there for a while. Which is a pretty good premise, pretty good twist. So they're living in this haunted house, what they think is a haunted house, but they don't really notice anything ghosty. And then this mysterious stranger guy, yeah, that's exactly what he says. What is it? There's no evidence of spectral manifestations, and they become skeptical about the being a haunted house. Yeah. So this mysterious stranger shows up, and to see the husband, and the wife answers his door. Says, "Oh yeah, come on in, whatever." And they go into the study where the husband's supposed to be, and he's not in there. They look around at a couple other places where he won't be, and it's not there. What's going on? And after a while, the stranger says, "I'll catch you later then. I'll come back another time." Or have him call me, or whatever they say. I haven't read this one. I have downloaded it, I think, but I haven't listened to it. It's on my list, but so many things are. Let me move this down a bit. That's better. So, the husband never shows up. Husband disappears. And after a while, the wife confirms, because there's no discovery going on, she just confirms that, oh yeah, it was a haunted house. The ghost thing took my husband, and then the mysterious stranger showed up. So they already thought it was a haunted house. They moved in anyway. The trick being what it was. And now I'm hearing the house settling. Ghosts creep me the heck out. It just turns my sensitivity up to 11, and I get creeped out. Weird. Anyway. So the wife confirms that that the house is haunted. There's no confrontation. The ghost isn't there to be confronted. There's no discovery because by the time it's happened, it's already discovery is happening at the same time the confirmation happens. Another one that I don't know if did Carol give me this one or did I come up with this on my own? I think it was Carol. Yeah, Carol does mention it. I didn't think I was clever enough to come up with that on my own. So Carol does talk about another one, that type of movie or type of story for this one. Onset confirmation. If you had a monster that is already known to exist, like Loch Ness Monster, or Bigfoot, or a Yeti, Abominable Snowman, something along those lines. You can start off with a scene where a fisherman fishing on Loch Ness gets eaten by something. So, like the intro to Jaws, the audience knows what's going on. And then the scientists go and check to see, hey, did Nessie eat a, there's a fisherman that disappeared on Loch Ness. Did Nessie eat a fisherman? That's weird. Let's go see if we can confirm. No discovery, because Nessie is sort of not to believe to be existing, but whatever. You guys know what I'm after. There's no discovery going on. It's a confirmation of a legend. Let's go with that. A confirmation of a legend. Or a Yeti, or the Bigfoot. Same deal. If a Bigfoot kills a guy, or a Yeti kills a mountaineer, etc. And then they do confirm that, hey, Yeti did kill a fisherman, but they're the scientists, so the scientists' jobs are done. They're not going to go and confront Nessie. They're just going, they gotta let it go. They say, don't fish here. Nessie's getting hungry, and she's eating people. Is it a she? I'm assuming it's a she. With a name like Nessie. Okay, onset confrontation. There's a few. War of the Worlds, the Orson Welles version. It essentially starts off with aliens attack a couple people and then kill a couple people, and then from there on it's war. After the onset, there's no discovery. It's not the characters become aware, it's just everybody's fighting the aliens. It goes from onset straight into confrontation. Alien is another example. The onset, there is no onset like the beginning of Jaws where you see an alien eating somebody. As soon as the discovery happens, as soon as the onset happens, the confrontation happens. It's fighting from as soon as the audience is aware till right into confrontation. Howard Hawks' The Thing. That's not one I'm familiar with. That's the one with the carrot, the man-eating carrot. I don't know. Anyway, essentially, do we have any? Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is on the other page. It is going out of order. That's weird. There's no distance between onset and discovery. They not only occur at the same instance, but there is no question about the existence and the nature of the present danger to all concerned. That is, there is no reason to establish that there is something monstrous which defies our normal forms of conceptualization, is killing people, because its presence is there for all the characters to see. Alright. So going on to the next one, discovery confirmation. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World. So, I didn't know I could do that. Cool. Sorry. Anyway, so a scientist in South America discovers that there's dinosaurs roaming around in South America. That's a discovery, and he has to confirm it to the other scientific community. And if I read correctly from this, he does so by setting a pterodactyl loose on them. Pterodactyl. Why do I keep trying to pronounce the P? Pterodactyl. And that's how he confirms it to the scientific community. There's no confrontation. It's a scientist. Usually the scientist ones, they don't go for the confrontation one. Yeah, so the discovery, there's no onset, there's no, a dinosaur eats the scout of the scientist party or something. It's just, no, the discovery happens. It's not true horror. And then they have to confirm it to the scientific community. Next one down, discovery confrontation. I don't know about this one, but I'll pass it on. The original 1933 King Kong. How does Carol talk about this? The film opens with the preparations for the journey to Skull Island, and then the village itself. He's motivated by rumors. The director's motivated by rumors of the legendary being called Kong. There's no onset in the sense that Denham has any direct evidence of Kong's existence. The voyage is undertaken on the basis of vague conjecture. This is page 113. Once the explorers reach the island, though it is clear that the natives believe in Kong, nothing happens that would straightforwardly indicate King's monstrous presence. Rather, his first manifestation represents the moment of discovery, when the audience sees it at the same time the characters see it. And then from there on, it's action all the way, it's confrontation. Abductions, chases, battles are all confrontations. I don't know. Is the abduction of King Kong to prove it to the world? Is it a confirmation thing? It's not, King Kong is difficult as a horror thing anyway, because it's not, there's not a whole lot of repulsion there. Okay, so confirmation, confrontation. Can I do this? Yes, I can. No, I can't. Can I not? No, I can't. So, confirmation, confrontation, these are sequels. Like Aliens. At this point, the crew knows that there are aliens out there. So, when they get a message from the fleet, whatever, saying, go to this ship, we think there's aliens on it, all they have to do is confirm and fight. Confirm that there's aliens on the ship, confront the aliens. Those are your two things. That's the point of Aliens. So then we go on to, of course, one-part variations. Pure onset, pure discovery, pure confirmation, and pure confrontation. I'm really going to have a hard time with those. Pure onset, The Raft by Stephen King is the one that is used. As I said, these are going to get shorter and shorter. Because, that's a really bad picture. This is a still from The Raft on Creepshow 2, which was based on The Raft by Stephen King. This one. There we go. So, The Raft is essentially, according to Carol and everybody else, it's essentially if you stopped Jaws after the scene with Chrissy where she's skinny dipping. The first death. The premise of The Raft is a bunch of friends go out to the lake. There's a raft in the middle of the lake, and they go swim out to it. Except this malevolent oil slick, that's Carol's term. Malevolent oil slick. Oil slick with a taste for human flesh, something along those lines is what Carol said. Consumes them. And, one of them gets up to the raft, and that's pretty much the end of the story. He obviously can't get back from the raft because the oil slick's there. And he's stuck on a raft. With an oil slick, the man-eating oil slick around him. And all his buddies are gone. It's pure onset. There's not as much characterization to have the characters be characters. To have the people in the story be characters. There's no discovery of the plot. It's just onset. It's essentially, they give as much characterization as Chrissy from Jaws, which is the girl who takes her top off and goes swimming at night. Moving on. Pure discovery plot is whatever. It's Pickman's model by H.P. Lovecraft. Pickman is an artist. He paints creepy things. His friend discovers that the things that Pickman aren't from Pickman's brain. He's photographing real monsters that live underneath Boston and painting that as the model. I'm going to go over the difficulties in some of these later, after I'm done with going over the other two. It gets into the point where, what's the difference between onset and discovery? We get a little bit hair-splitty, which I don't really want to do too much of. So going on to pure confirmation, H.G. Wells' Empires of the Ants. A gunboat hears reports of ants attacking people, army ants, and they go to confirm the report. That's the essence of the story. There's no discovery of them until they're sent to confirm. There's obviously onset that's not on stage, on print, where someone was eaten by army ants, and then someone discovered that someone was eaten by army ants. But the point of the story is the boat story. So the boat story is, they get a call on the radio. Is it a radio? Yeah, I think it's a radio. Is it a radio? They hear a rumor of army ants that are attacking people, and they go to confirm. Let's, for sake of example, say they get a call on the radio, and it's a gunboat, and they're like, hey, go and confirm this. It's not like they can use their gunboat to attack ants. They shoot machine guns at ants. It's not going to be very effective. They can go for backup later, but the confirmation, they just have to confirm it. Hey, there really are man-eating ants. Let's get DDT or something. Napalm. Napalm probably a good thing to fight man-eating ants. The last one is pure oh God, I can't say it. Pure confrontation. H.G. Wells again. Valley of the Spiders. Premise of this is a bunch of guys are riding, and they're riding after a bunch of girls, and they ride into a valley, and they get tangled up in spider webs. They go through some spider webs, and then from then on, boom, it's just being attacked by spiders, attacking back on spiders, spiders, attacking. That's all there is to it. There's no other points to the story at all. Valley of the Spiders. It's just confrontation. Right. So, some of these I had problems with, because some of these get a little fuzzy, like hair splitting. Some of the, does Pickman's model have onset to it? Is Feast in the Abbey just pure discovery? Where's the line between onset and discovery? If we go to, when the monster's presence is established for the audience and when the characters become aware of the monster, sometimes that's very clear cut. Sometimes it's not clear cut. Sometimes it's a pain in the butt. And you don't know. That's not the right screen. This is it. And then the other one that's kind of difficult is when you're going into a short story, what's the confirmation? I see some of the ones where, okay, the pure confirmation of Empire of the Ants, I get it. But the confirmation in afterwards, well, wasn't that really discovery as well? Sort of, I don't know, because afterward, rather. Yes, it was confirmed at the same time it was discovered. I don't know. It's fuzzy. It's fuzzy in my mind, anyway. Maybe once I listen to the story, I'll be like, oh no, it's pure. It's onset confirmation, and that's all you get. That it might be very clear cut, and maybe it's clear cut ish in here. But in my main brain, maybe I'm just making it fuzzy. So yeah. Next time, we're finishing with that's the complex discovery plot. We're not done with the complex discovery plot because we can always have elements of the other two plots mixed in. There's 4 parts of the complex discovery plot. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Overreacher plot. And there's 4 parts of that as well. Preparation for the experiment, the boomerang, and the confrontation. And you can add, elements of this onto complex discovery. You can add complex discovery elements onto this. And then, of course, so the preparation, the Overreacher gets ready for the experiment. The Overreacher undertakes experiment. Boomerang, the realization that the experiment has gone terribly wrong, and the confrontation is confronting the experiment / monster. This is sort of your mad scientist is your typical Overreacher plot. Can also be mad priest of Satan who calls up a demon or something. Or wizard who does experiments he shouldn't do. Voldemort, if he, but you'd have to take away confrontation because Voldemort never confronts the experiments because he is the experiment. But he certainly overreached. So, and then you have the fantastic, which is not quite a horror plot, but you can have elements of the fantastic in a complex discovery plot. You can have elements of the fantastic in a Overreacher plot if you tried really hard, and you could mix them all up. You can have a plot with all 9 elements. Well, no, you couldn't, because confrontation is the same on both. You could have the 4 from complex discovery plot. You could have the 4 from Overreacher plot, except confrontation's the same in both. And then you could have some elements of the fantastic, which we'll get to later. But next time we're going to talk about the Overreacher plot, and then we're going to go into the fantastic. Fantastic. It's gonna be Sorry, I'm not gonna say that joke. It's such a bad joke. Alright, and then we'll be done with Carol. Pretty much entirely. We're gonna go into King pretty heavily and talk about what he has to say about the horror tale. But that's 3 videos from now. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching Horror Analysis. My name's Drew. I'll see you next time.